I think it's probably more. I'd use a different word. I'd use probably more rounded album. Perhaps that's what he means. I think it has a bit more depth in some of the songs. They're rounded out a bit more. The Brave New World stuff was fairly. I would almost say it was good, solid bolt together Maiden. You know, nothing wrong with that. And it was. We did it. I thought we did it. Pretty good, very well. But this one has some, I suppose you might say, oddities for Maiden, which I think flesh the whole thing out a bit more. It gives the album more of a personality. We never actually all end up in the same room together. There's usually one or two or three of us, and generally I go around Yannick's or Adrian's house, and then Steve joins us, and Steve will be writing with Yannick, and then I'll get a phone call saying, "Look, me and Yannick have written this thing. Do you want to come in and see if you can do something with the words or with the tune or whatever?" So, and then when somebody writes a song, very often they want to run it past me because they say, "Well, is this the right sort of place for your voice to be happening?" and things. So I come in and have a stab at the melody, and that's how it works. No, not necessarily. I mean, depends who writes the lyrics. I mean, whoever writes the lyrics, by and large, it's their lyrics. Um, so Steve has a different philosophy on writing lyrics than, for example, I do. With Steve, the most important thing is what the meter, the timing of the lyric does within the song. He's not particularly concerned about the sound, the vowel sounds, and the way the word flows, as it were, which I am as a singer. It's another way of looking at doing it, and very often you end up with things that are quite tough to sing, quite demanding, because they're quite harsh, because they're fitting not with a singing regime but with a bass and a rhythm regime. And I've gotten used over the years to the foibles of different people. In general, I don't have any problem at all. It's about modern world propaganda, if you like, and how we all think we're so clever, and that things that we build, that we imagine to be timeless, just all fade away in the end. And of course, the whole Iraq war thing was rearing its head at the time when we were writing the album. And I remember thinking about, desert sand and stuff, and it moves and it shifts, and whatever you build, like the Sphinx or whatever, or pyramids, they all eventually crumble away. So whatever empires people try to build, whether it's, British empires, American empires, Iraqi empires, they will all eventually crumble away into something else. And I just thought, well, the only thing that you can ever say is that if you to leave an imprint in the sand, and I just thought of this like a reverse face imprinted in the sand. I thought, well, that's about the most permanence you can ever get. Journeyman started out as a chorus, uh, which we thought was this big anthem type thing, and then we thought, well, what do we do with this? Because if we try and turn it into, Born in the USA or something, it's going to sound kind of crass. So we got kind of trippy and dreamy on the verse, and I just got images of somebody making decisions with his heart, regardless of where it was going to lead, and the journey that you're on through the whole of your life, and you get the chance to make choices and decisions and things like that, and you can choose to sit in your cubby hole and rot slowly, or you can choose to go and do something mad and glorious, and it's your choice, and that's what the song's all about. Yes, I do. I don't think that things should reveal themselves very easily. I think things last longer if they're a bit more enigmatic. Given the nature of Iron Maiden, in terms of this kind of sounds we make and the things that we've songs about medieval battles and mass slaughter and things like that are a bit of a given, really. And also, I think there's so much great stuff and there's so many great stories throughout history that you can make parallels with in the modern day. That it just makes for some very colourful subject matter. Simple as that, really. You know, if you're gonna plunder something, you might as well plunder something that's real and that's happened, and that's, rather than make up some crass sword and dorkery epic. Journeyman, without question. Rainmaker and Passchendaele. Notwithstanding any of the others, I mean, Dance of Death is a great one because I get to do my I get to do my best to stand on one leg, Yeah, Passchendaele is going to be very, very spectacular. Big explosions and lights going off in the distance and the guns, and it's really got it. And it's just the little guitar riff at the beginning, not the big heavy one, the little plaintive one. When I was in the Army Cadets school, and we used to go out on night exercises, and they used to fire these things, parachute flares and star shells used to go up. And there's this eerie, ghostly light comes from them. They twinkle on the way down, and they illuminate everything. And that's the sound of that riff. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, wow, this is going to be an amazing song. Yeah, regrettably, I'm one of these people who basically can't sit still for 5 minutes. The only way I can manage to do that is if I surprisingly find myself doing it and think, huh, I'm sitting still for a few minutes. I'm really quite enjoying this. um, but most of the time, I have some little project boiling away or bubbling away. I suppose my attitude is that life is here to get the max out of it, really. And if there's something that I think, oh, that'd be interesting to have a go at, I wonder what that's like. Um, Not everything. I mean, I've never been, tempted to go and do large quantities of like hallucinogenic drugs or anything else like that on the basis of, oh, I wonder what that's like, or put my hand into a burning flame. Oh, I wonder what that's like. Sort of daft things like that. I don't have a desire to do, but things that really immerse you in experiences, and that you have to learn about and tinker with. I'm fascinated by. I don't get up in the morning and go, I'm a world famous singer in a rock band. That's what I am all day. Wow. I'm eating my breakfast like a world famous singer in a rock band. I don't do that. It's not. It's just like, you know, maybe that's the key to how I do other things, because it doesn't preoccupy me 24 hours of the day. And I don't think about even, I mean, I travel with the guys in Maiden, we're a band, but I don't even think of them as being, I'm traveling with a world famous Iron Maiden. I mean, it's just like, it's the guys, we travel together. And I think that's, maybe that's it. I can go on stage, and even going on stage, I don't think tonight I'm fronting the world famous Iron Maiden. I just think I have to sing really good tonight, because I just have to. Because if I get on stage and sing, I have to do it really good. And that's it. So, and then having sung and come off stage, it's nice when people come up and say, it was a really good gig and stuff, and that's terrific, and I love it. But I don't see in myself what other people choose to see when they meet me after shows. They're probably thinking, it's Dickinson, this big rock star, Iron Maiden, everything else. I can't imagine me like that, even though sometimes it's convenient to pretend. The crucial thing with me, at any rate, in terms of music that I like, is that it's passionate and soulful and sounds original. Not original in the sense of anybody inventing new notes, or original in, they've just written 11 original songs, as in different to somebody else's songs. But original in the fact that there's a real personality behind the music. Something really different behind this band as opposed to this band or this band or this band. So that's what I look for, I guess. Yes, I am looking forward to the new tour. I think we're getting better in Maiden at differentiating between the Maiden festival head and the Maiden new concert head. And that's quite nice because it makes my life a bit easier as a frontman, because I can run around doing all the jolly japes and being a general nutter on the festivals, which I must say is pretty knackering, but it's very enjoyable. And the set lists and things like that are also, enjoyable too, because you get to go through your little treasure chest, and it's like going and trying on new hats and things. I remember this one, and you go out and play these old songs, and people like it. And obviously, it's great. But the thrill of the new tour is creating is creating a vibe, is creating an atmosphere. It's a different kind of intimacy. I wouldn't describe festivals as being very intimate occasions. They're not. But the new tour, really, we have to attempt that. We have to try and bring people in and try and shrink the venue sometimes, as opposed to make it bigger like a festival. And I don't imagine I should be running around and yelling and screaming at people as much, because I've done that all through the festival thing. We need to let the music do the talking much more. And anyway, I've run out of things to scream at people.
Yeah, I think with Kevin we finally found someone to replace Martin, really, because when Martin left, I think we were a little bit at a loss, really. To replace someone who you've been working with like that for many albums is very, very difficult. But I think with Kevin we found that person, and the similarities between them is quite amazing, really, the way they work, the way they like to have a laugh and a joke while they're working, and also, I think we found the man, and hopefully he'll carry on being like that for a few albums yet. With us, I mean, we arrange all our own songs anyway. When someone comes in to produce, they're not really producing in the real sense of the word. We prefer to have an hands-on engineer, so someone's not just going to sit there, pointing the finger at to someone else to engineer the desk. That's why Martin and Kevin both work that way. They're both hands-on with the desk, and they'll have a tape op or an assistant to help out doing certain things, but they're basically doing the whole desk and mixing themselves and everything. And that's what we want. We want someone to be able to capture our essence onto whatever format it may be at the time. And we're not really looking for too much input from someone to actually arrange the songs, or in that way. I mean, both Kevin and Martin went backwards and coming forwards as far as like coming in with any ideas they might have. But most of the time they don't need to, really, because we've already done all that. We've already done all the arrangements and everything. And it's just a question of maybe a couple of little tweaks here and there, perhaps. And it's great to have an outside objective opinion. And sometimes you need someone like that also who's strong enough to be able to sort of get in the middle if there's any kind of disagreements within the band. Not that there tends to be, but if it happens, you need someone to say what they think. And that's the way we work anyway. It's like just get it out in the open, thrash it all out, and then you take it from there. It's a breath of fresh air working with people like that. Well, when we did the Brave New World album, Kevin tried a thing because we had, three guitarists on it, which is kind of a new thing as well, and so he tried a thing where we just, when we did the backing tracks first, and then when we were doing like the rhythm guitars or even something like harmonies and solos together, he actually recorded all three of them at the same time, which because live on stage, obviously that's what's happening. You're getting all this interaction of different things going on. Even different like kind of chord inversions or all kinds of things really that happen, in a live performance. And for Brave New World, he got the three of them to play it together, and we never really done that before. We've done it, few little things, but not like all the time. And it was great. And this time round, it was he did the same sort of thing, because we found that on Brave New World it worked quite so well. And quite often when we make studio albums, we'll go out and play the songs live for a while, and then when we do a live album with those songs on, they tend to sound better. I think they do. What you may lose in a little bit of richness of sound or production in the studio, you gain with the feel and the playing, of just live on stage. So we're always trying to recreate that, and Kevin really doing the free guitar thing. I think he really has a. I suppose maybe you might think it's an obvious thing, but after we did it, we thought, why didn't we do this years ago? But it works very, very well for us. There's not really an intention of anything when we go in and make an album with the writing or anything else really. I mean, I think Brave New World just turned out to be, a more progressive 70s influenced album. And that's just the way it was, just because of the nature of the songs, the way they turned out, the writing and stuff. And then that dictates the way you record them and everything else. And with the writing on this one, I think it's a lot more varied. So if you think it's a bit more raw, then maybe it is. But it wasn't necessarily an intentional thing. We didn't sit down and say, all right, now we're going to go in this or that direction. It's just that the songs you do dictate the way you record, maybe the kind of style that you're recording. Just purely the way that the fundamental of the way the songs are, and I think it's quite because everyone's involved in the writing. Well, they were on the last album too, but even maybe more so this time. I think that it gives quite a good variation. I think the first couple of songs are like sort of 70s hard rock influence, if you like. There's some stuff on there that's 70s sort of progressive influence. There's all kinds of things going on there. There's even the track at the end, which is the first sort of slow song we've done since '81, I think. Was the last time. I think Prodigal Son was the last slowest sort of song we did. So, and that it just happened. It wasn't something that we said, oh right, well we think we better write a slow song now. We hadn't done one for 20 odd years. It's just the way it worked out. I think everybody was a bit surprised when Nico came in with the song, and I say the song because it's the first song he's done with us, and he's been in the band 20 years, so it took him a long time. So he's been a bit lazy up to now, I suppose. But I mean, I think partly it's because in the last couple of years he's been learning to play the bass a bit more, and he wrote the song on the bass, and so maybe it gave him the confidence to actually come in and write the song. And it's a good song. It's catchy, and it's a little bit different to what we might have done. So. Again, it's a bit diverse, and it makes it a more varied album. I didn't actually. That's an interesting concept. I didn't really think of it like a video. No, I was just trying to conjure up some imagery in my own mind, which is what helps you write lyrics. Really, a lot of our songs are moody, atmospheric, and then dramatic stuff. And I love all that big epic sort of stuff. I mean, I grew up listening to like film theme music, and stuff like that. I still do listen to that sort of stuff. So, drama is definitely, and mood is definitely like a big part of our writing. I think it didn't occur to us that Dance Delivery with the lead track until really we'd sort of written most of the material, and we just thought that it would, it's a really good strong title, and it's a strong song. I think if you've got a title song, it has to be a strong song that will deserve to be the title track. in the same sense of something like Fear of the Dark or whatever, or Number of the Beast or something like that. You know, it has to be a very strong track, and we just felt it was really strong. And I suppose Passchendaele, although it's a fantastic song and a big epic song, it doesn't really conjure up so much imagery. I mean, it's a name of a place, so it doesn't really, unless you know what that place is and you know what it was about and why we use that name in the lyrics, then you wouldn't really. It doesn't really conjure up any imagery. Whereas I think Dance of Death conjures up lots of different imagery. I think it's something that's in people's minds, you know, at certain points of their life, and you know, the idea of what could be afterwards, whether you believe in life after death or this kind of stuff, it kind of conjures up a lot of different things, and it's something that some people are scared of. It's something that some people are not particularly scared of, or they say they're not, but it's just something that, you know, I think it's on people's minds. You know, probably some more than others, maybe mine more than others, I don't know. But I think I'm only just saying it's like Fear of the Dark is something that people wouldn't a lot of people wouldn't admit to, but totally relate to, which is maybe why it's such a big song. So I don't know really. I just think that it's just I think the unknown. People are scared of the unknown and or intrigued by it, if you like, and therefore that's quite a potent thing. I think in our days of starting off, there did seem to be more places to play, like pubs in particular. I think there's fewer places to play at that level, and also I think if you get to a level in a pub where you're selling out pubs kind of thing, well, if there's such a thing as selling out pubs, I think that, you know, there doesn't seem to be another stage where you can go onto now, like universities and those type of gigs. There's nowhere in between. So what do you do after that? Supposing you do well on a pub circuit, you know, then you really need to get on support tours, and that's not always the easiest thing in the world to get on. So you can't really graduate to bigger clubs because there ain't too many of them about. So I would say really although it was very difficult for us, and I think it's always difficult and always will be difficult for new bands to break through, I think the lack of venues is something that's a real problem. You just got to go and try and play live as much as possible, which is very difficult. But you just have to keep, you know, going at it. Really, I mean, there's nothing else you can do. I think that a lot of the problem these days is that bands are not ready. You know, like band will make a demo or something like that, and it'd be really good, and maybe played a few gigs live, and then all of a sudden they're on the cover of a magazine, or they're mentioned, you know, quite heavily in a magazine, and they're not ready. You know, they don't get time to grow, and it can all be over in 5 minutes, if you know what I mean. Because, you know, we were like 4.5 years before we got a deal and all that, and I think most people know the history of the band, but it's like by the time we were offered the kind of thing, we were ready for it. And I think a lot of bands now are actually not really ready for it. So, you know, too much gets expected of them too soon. And unless they're really, really strong and bull-headed, then they usually fall by the wayside. So my advice really is to try and do as many shows you can, and not try and get across to the press or try and get demos heard too early. You know, go and learn your craft and, you know, get it a bit more fine-tuned and get some confidence happening, get a set of songs together, so that you know, when people do come and see you, they're going to be absolutely knocked out with it, and you're strong enough to be able to deal with what's thrown at you. I think the pattern of touring in the future will be that we'll just do a bit less touring. We're not splitting up or anything like that, but it means that we'll probably play 3 or 4 months of the year rather than 9 months. And we've done that for 20 odd years. We've done loads and loads of world tours. We've played to, you know, pretty much most places you can play on the earth there is to play. And I suppose there's always going to be a couple of exceptions like that, but, you know, maybe we'll even get there as well. So we're not giving up touring, but it's just got to be quality and not quantity, I think, from now on. You know, we're not getting any younger, being realistic about it. I don't think we're a bunch of old farts just yet. You know, we're still fit and everything, and we still enjoy what we do. And I think it's proof of this on this tour that everyone's been enjoying it, and the fans seem to be enjoying it, you know, even more than ever. But partly the reason why that is on this last tour of Gimme Ed tour is that it has been a bit better paced, and you know, we've been getting a chance to go home on days off and things like that, and we've been playing sort of 4 shows a week rather than 6, and it just means that we're in fine fettle every night, instead of going out there on some nights and just, like, you know, kind of you always give 100%, but sometimes there's only 80% to give, so you give 100 of 80%, but it's still not the same as having 100 of 100, if you see what I mean. Well, get your head around that one, but you know, it's just I do feel that, well, we all feel that it's just important to, you know, be giving our all on the shows and enjoying it, you know, much more. And it means that actually I think we could probably, you know, carry on for longer than if we carry on the way we are with the cycles as they have been over the last 20 odd years. I think it will just grind to a halt sooner or later, and I don't think that's what anybody really wants. Really, we want to be able to carry on as long as we can.
I think it's more of a sense of picking up where we left off. I think we worked with Kevin before. We knew how it worked. It probably took, you know, a couple of weeks to get comfortable with each other on the first album. But he is kind of old school in that he likes to record live. I mean, he's worked with other bands, and I think probably a few years ago we got into the habit of being very meticulous with the albums, and it was just a different way of recording. You'd record drums first, and then spend, you know, weeks putting guitars on. But really, I mean, we just play pretty much live on this. And with the technology we got now, you can capture that and get it done fairly quickly. I mean, the time probably is in the mixing, and there's a lot of technical work to do. But, you know, you want to keep the performance. So you just approach it like you would do live. You try to enjoy it. And we do enjoy it, recording. I mean, it can. I mean, recording can be a bit of a nightmare sometimes, because you do things over and over again, and you end up not losing the big picture. You know, if you do things fairly spontaneously, you know, you keep the essence of it and keep what's good about it. So I'd say this way is the best way. Good question. I mean, well, it's a new single that's coming out probably just before the album. It's a very immediate song. It's very instant. You know, it's not one of our 9-minute jobs. You know, it fits in great with what we're playing already. You know, the older stuff, the more classic stuff. It just fits in perfectly. It's very to the point, and you know, people. If you look at the audience, they're trying to sing it. You know, by the second verse, they desperately want to sing it because they sing all the other songs, and then, but by the end of the song, they've actually got an idea of what it's about, and they're all joining in with it. So that's a good sign. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that personally inspires me. You know, when you think of, you know, doing a song live, you know, being in a live environment with the fans, I find that very inspiring. That was the first thing I actually sat down to try and come up with some stuff. That was one of the first things I came up with, and it took me, you know, a matter of hours to get it together. And I played it to Steve, him, and he liked it, and he started jotting down some words, and we had a song, you know, within a few hours. So yeah, definitely think, you know, the thought of playing it live would be a big consideration. Yeah. I think all of us kind of went away and kind of recharged the batteries. And to be honest, I hardly really played for a year, which was very naughty. But I just didn't feel like it, to be honest. But, you know, come round to sort of the end of the summer, and you start getting the itch and you start thinking about it. And we were officially supposed to start writing in August, but I started probably September. Starting, you know, play guitar 2-3 hours a day and trying to get myself back into it, you know. And sometimes it's good to have a layoff because, you know, you get you get inspired again, you know. It's you need to keep it fresh, you know. The music to the song kind of wrote itself. It was just one of those things. I had the little intro riff, and I was really, really sort of. It evoked a lot of things. Mainly it's kind of a conflict and battle and the calm before the storm kind of thing. I thought this has got to be a song about a big battle. It's real classic Maiden territory, but something I've never got involved in before. And I thought, well, as a challenge to myself, I'd try and write something, because most people probably associate me with writing the more commercial tracks in the band. But I thought, well, I'd have a go at writing a bit of an epic. Why not? And 5 days later, I was I was still there, and I realised, wow, this is a real handful, But I thoroughly enjoyed it, and then I went out to a public library to get some ideas for some lyrics, and the first thing I saw on the bookshelf was a book called Passchendaele, and just the way the words were, Passchendaele. I mean, just kind of, growing up in England. Probably in the 60s and 70s, and all the war documentaries we saw, makes a big impression on you when you're a kid. And put the two and two together, and I played it to Steve, and he didn't need any more persuading. He started writing loads of lyrics. So I mean, I had a couple of lines, and then he went from there really and added some more the chorus, and then we had that song. And so I was very pleased with the way that turned out. Yeah, it is a bit of a shock to the system, but it's amazing how quickly it does. It does return. And after a couple of days rehearsal, it was sounding pretty decent. We're all kind of shocked, actually. Wow, it sounds good. Actually playing and performing in front of an audience, because we're not the sort of band who just stands around and plays. Running around, that does take some getting. That's almost like I guess a sportsman who's had a long layoff, you start using muscles that you haven't used for a while. After a week, so you're right back in the saddle, He was great. Obviously, I think the first time I'm playing it is always going to stick with you, because the only thing with Donaldson is you get this sense of pressure, because it's your home country. You want to do well. You don't want to fall on your ass. You don't want to make, also, you have all the sort of all your family there, and your friends you haven't seen for years come ringing, your mobile's ringing. Can I get me some tickets? Blah blah blah. So when you do get on stage, and it's actually a great release, and it's you just get on with the gig and enjoy the gig. And it was great this year. It was fantastic. It was even good weather, so can't be bad. Every gig on this tour has been amazing. I mean, we seem to be picking up new fans, and the thing that gets me when we go out on stage and see kids 15, 16, 17, boys and girls, which is a new one. And they know all the stuff. They even know the old stuff, and I'm just amazed. I think it's great that we're still picking up new fans. So that's something that's stuck in my mind. We've done festivals that haven't been our show. We haven't been in total control of the shows. We've gone on playing with other bands like Coldplay, and the Cardigans, all sorts of bands we'd never think would share a bill, and they've been some of the best gigs on the tour. You get a sense of having to fight a little bit to because maybe a lot of people haven't seen you before. But by the end of the night, everyone's joining in, and you feel like you've won a few more fans, which is a nice feeling. The band has never sort of followed fashion, or we've never sort of gone up any of those roads, with our music. So you could put an album on from 10 or 15 or 20 years ago, and it sounds similar to what we're doing now. Might be slightly better sound quality, but it doesn't vary drastically. We've always stayed close to the fans. I mean, I can say this, being an outsider for a few years and not being involved in the band and coming back, I think I'm in a more, can view it more objectively, and because of that, I think the band's still around. And we've also, we've always toured a lot, I've always brought the music to the fan. Never relied on radio. So I think the fans, those sort of fans, remember you, and they stick with you because you stick with them. I think it's pretty simple, really. We always toured a lot, spent a lot of money on the shows, put a lot of money back into it. So I think our hardcore fans have sustained us, and how would you describe us now? We just seem to be Iron Maiden.
Dance of Death as an album to record was pretty easy, in as much as they all are kind of easy to work on, but the tunes, they're sometimes a bit difficult. This album was done relatively quickly, as most of the albums in the past have been done. But there was something different about this album than all the others put together. I don't know whether it was just that it was more of a, the first, okay, Bruce came back, we did Brave New World, which was, a standalone album, I think, in terms of a pinnacle of Maiden's history. And then we came in the studio, we had 7 songs rehearsed and written, so we were 4 short. But we went in and we had such a great time, and it was so relaxed. Not to say the others weren't, but there was a different vibe. It was as though it was our first album. It's as near as I can put it. It was as a, the vibe in the room was like, oh, we're in the studio, and we're in where, who everyone had recorded in this room. Bob Marley, Led Zeppelin, Stairway to Heaven was done in this room. I mean, it was like hallowed recording ground, So there was a great vibe on that alone. So it was a very, very, very easy album, really. No idea. I'm not sure if it's a name that the band gave him a few years, 3 years ago when we did Brave New World, but Caveman is definitely appropriate to his personality. He was here. Probably he will bash me on the top of the noggin with a big chunk of wood next time he sees me and drag me off somewhere. Well, no, that's when you sort of do the mating thing. So he probably won't be doing the dragging me off, but knocking me over the noggin with a big chunk of wood, more than likely. Dance of Death has a song written by the inimitable one and only good-looking bloke in the band, Nico McBrain, called New Frontier. It's taken 20 years for me to actually take a whole song, I had the lyrics and the verses worked out. I took it to Adrian and we worked on the bridge and chorus together, although I had pretty much where I wanted the chorus to go because I had the lyrics. So we sat down and we kind of it came together jointly. So I gave the band the song, and it was very weird because we were about 2 or 3 weeks into recording, and we'd finished whatever the track was we were working on previously. And it was like, I think Bruce said, oh, let's give Nick's song a whirl. And I'm like, well, I've got to show the band enough. So I'd already played the chorus and the verse and the tune to Bruce. He loved the chorus, so he was very happy with that. But anyway, the next stage was I had to take it with the bass, the acoustic bass, with Adrian, with the 3 guitar players, and we were working out where we were going, who was going to play what part, and and what the chord structures were, etc. So the guys all worked out what was going on. Adrian takes the first solo in the tune. Davey takes there's a little melody over there's a modulated solo, and he takes the second part, but it's more of a melody solo rather than like a full-blown guitar lick, so to speak. And of course, once now we've got all the band and the guitars all ready to go, I had to play it to Steve. So Steve goes, he puts his bass on. I've got his acoustic, his Black Guild acoustic, which is a beautiful bass guitar. And he said, well, how's it going? And I went, okay, we did the intro, and off we went, and played it. And he's gone, here. He said, ain't bad. He said, do you want to do the bass on the song? I was like, oh, dearie me, very, very sweet. See, I thought I'm not mistaken. He's passed me a compliment, and I thought, well, you don't think you're going to be playing the tubs because there's no chance of that, mate. But it was very nerve-wracking Right, but once I started it, and you know, the thing is with the guys, they're all so approachable. You know, nobody's going, oh no, we don't want to hear that, you know, or you know, it's like everyone has their tunes they bring in, and everyone will give it a thorough workout. And then if it's something that's a little bit not quite in the vein of the other tunes, or it's a standalone song that's really not going to kind of fit in with everything, then we won't use it. My style of writing, the songs I've written with my wife and my friend Danny Spitz are not kind of really Maiden. But then again, what is and what isn't? You know, once we take a tune, you can take a tune, we'll Maidenize it. You know, there's been instances in the past where the guys have come to the band with a tune and it's very kind of, dare I say, popish. For want of another way of explaining it, and we've gone, oh yeah, it's a bit. If we natch the tempo up, double the tempo on it, and put a bit of the old guitar and all this business, and Nick doing his tubs and what have you, and you get this sort of Maiden stamp on a tune. Then it's obviously a contributing song to an album. But in the past, we have had songs where they just, you know. And my style right now, I must admit, I had a bit of cold feet really, and I had a bit more confidence over the last few years from doing different things with my wife and Danny, and sitting at home fiddling around, because I like to play the bass guitar anyway. So I actually play very much in the style of Steve. When you hear the track New Frontier, you think well, that's a classic Steve riff, you know. And the whole essence of that tune came from just a bass riff, and then my wife and I were talking, and I was a bit concerned about cloning, so I wrote the whole song's about cloning. But Bruce has changed the verse lyrics, and he said to me after we finished the album, we were all having a celebratory drink before I went back to America, and he said, oh, do you mind if I mess with the lyrics on the verses? He said, you know, it's not that they're not good or they don't, it's just I've got a different idea. Do you mind if and I said, no, go ahead. It's what people feel comfortable and how they contribute their essence to a tune. All of them I enjoy. I obviously think New Frontier is a cracking tune. No, it's got its own character and nature, which suits the album. Like the first two tunes are very, very in-your-face, quick tunes. You know, Wildest Dreams and Rainmaker both are potential 45s. I mean, even New Frontier could be, but it wasn't written like that. But it's that instant kind of tune. It's not too long. It's not a very, very difficult tune to listen to. It's an easy. Whereas you get something like, say, for instance, Passchendaele, which is a tricky piece of music to work on because there's so many bits and pieces. And Adrian surpassed himself in that tune, I must say. But my favourite at the moment is Montségur. That has got everything classic Maiden about it to me. The album has, but in different avenues. It's a bit of retrospective Maiden in a way. You could just say this album was a bit of everything from Maiden's career from the very early 80s through to Brave New World, and now it's gone progressively, it's moved on a step. That's my opinion. So relating to all the songs, yeah, it's difficult. At the moment, Montségur is my favourite tune. Well, you know, all the years we've toured, and we've done quite a few of them they've all had their, you know, when you do them, you go, this is the best tour we've ever done, da 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 da, you know, and it's the best album we've ever made, and that's right, that's true to form. And then this tour, we aren't promoting anything, so we've gone out with this incredible vibe anyway, because it's basically like another Headhunter tour, but we had that Headhunter video game to promote, so it was a vehicle to do that. This one was just purely to go out and do the festivals, have a great time, get ourselves wound up for the next cycle of touring, which is Dance of Death, which is a very, very important album in Maiden's career because it is such a progressive album. Every album is really important when you go out, and we live on the road. That's where we go in the studio to make the best albums we possibly can, write the best tunes at the time that we possibly can. But going on those floorboards, that's where we live. That's where we're in command. It's got to be said, I do love the festival vibe, but I do also like there's a difference in, sometimes there's a difference in the vibe from the kids, because when you're playing indoors, you're doing your own show. At a festival, unless it's your own festival like the old Donington 92 and 88, it's, you know, that's your own audience that come and see you. But it's nice to play at a festival because of the vibe, because there's other guys in the audience that wouldn't be there normally had they not come to see somebody like the Cardigans or Zwarm, I haven't pronounced them, or a different band that's not progressive hard rock. And they stay there at the festival for the weekend, so you're getting across to a lot of different fans, which is a wonderful experience. And everything we've achieved so far on this tour has been absolutely phenomenal. It's a blessing, because all these festivals that we're playing at, like Grass Pop, you know, Alice Cooper was on, Typo Negatives, Anthrax, name just about a few, Stradivarius, all different kinds of hard rock. They're not all Iron Maiden fans. But they're fans of the genre of music, which makes it all a big family anyway. But there might be a bunch of kids out there who go, well, I wouldn't go see Maiden, I'm going to go and watch them tonight because they're on the bill. And at the end of it, they've all got their hands up in the air going, yeah, Maiden rules, or whatever, or they've just had that great time and they come away and they go, you know what, I really like, you know, I'm now a Maiden fan, as well as Alice Cooper, as well, you know. So you're otherwise playing to a lot of new cats. But whereas when you're doing the arena shows, you know that's like, if you sold out 13,500 seats, pretty much those 13,500 kids are there just to see you. Yes and no. I mean, it's really more an insight into what I do, rather than sitting talking to the guys on the plane, go, what did you do yesterday? And you know, what I write tends to be what I've done. And really, it started on the Brave New World tour. We all were bought these wonderful VAIO computers at the time. I mean, they were state of the art then. I mean, now they're sort of dinosaurs, aren't they? But Rod said, "Oh, Nicky, would you like to do a diary on the road?" He said, "You're funny, man. The kids would love. No." He said, "I think you should do something." Oh, I said, "All right then, I'll do a couple, see how they go." And I really enjoyed doing it, because I'm the worst at writing letters or especially keeping a diary, for crying out loud. So it was a hoot, and everybody that I spoke to, friends of mine, go, "Oh, I can see you. People that know you can see that's you writing. I can hear you talking that, you know, and all this." So I enjoy doing it.
I think as far as like the production goes, I mean, it's a little different sound in the first place, and I think musically there's probably a lot more depth. I think there's more details on this album, sort of musical details, more probably notes, and I think it's probably a bit more progressive as well. And some of the songs like Dance to Death itself, Passchendaele and stuff, I think that's a particular epic kind of Maiden piece. Lots of time changes, orchestrated. So there's this. I think it's probably a heavier album as well, a lot more, you know, heavier material. And I think in general it's probably just stretching ourselves, pushing ourselves a little bit further. But you know, I think Brave New World, I think it's a stand-up album. I think I can still listen to it now and it still sounds fresh. I think this one's probably a little bit harder hitting and just pushing out towards, you know, just exploring different avenues this time, I think, you know. In the early days, when we'd go to like the Bahamas and spend 2 months there, it was kind of, you know, we'd work in late in the afternoon. Sometimes it's hard getting the band into the studio because, you know, we'd be exploring, you know, going on different activities and stuff. And then so we had to kind of be a bit more regimented, you know, strict, right, we're going to start this time. Or this day even, you know. So there was a bit more, very lot looser when we were recording abroad. You know, you set a time, okay, we're going to go in the studio now. Sometimes, most of the times you did, but sometimes you didn't. Whereas I think in London, you specifically, you know, you're able to go home. So which is a great thing. I really enjoyed that, being able to go, you know, go to the studio, do your stuff, and then go home. So it makes you feel a bit more grounded. Whereas when you're recording abroad, it can suddenly, you know, you go off a little tangents, so you go over the edge, you know. So your social activities you know, you end up going to the bar quite a bit because it's like, well, you know, you can't go home, so you end up going out and having a few drinks and stuff. And so I actually prefer this, you know, at the time, you know,
actually recording in London anyway. I mean, we recorded like some of the earlier albums at Battery Studios, you know, so that was nice. But wherever you record, even if it's in the garden shed in your back garden, I think as long as you can put your stuff down and have fun, that's what it's all about, you know. I had a few of the riffs and stuff and a few of the chord progressions, and I took them to Steve, and then he kind of started putting a couple of melodies and adding a few things. And then when we were in the rehearsal studio, we sat down with Bruce and stuff, and I was kind of playing the intro, kind of. It's quite fast actually, so but I was kind of playing it slowly, and he said it reminded him of like raindrops, you know. And so that kind of inspired him to write the lyric Rainmaker, and basically he just developed all the lyrics there right as we done it. He was just basically the light bulb went on and you could see him was scribbling away and so you know we had all the music together and then he just came in and dropped the lyrics right on top. So that was done very quickly actually as far as the lyrics go. He was very inspired, you know, and it just sort of came off the tongue. It was very good. It's really very natural. We if the song's written, there sometimes there'll be spaces for three solos, or if not, there'll be one solo or two. We don't, you know, at the end of the album, it evens out, and so we don't kind of work at it. We sit down and work out the details, you know, the harmony things and like the octaves and everything and the chord progressions. But as far as the solos go, it's like, well, you take that one, you know. It's like, oh, I haven't done a solo in that key, then I'll take that one, you know. So it's basically it's very loose. It's not like it's very loose. It's like very relaxed, you know. Oh, you take that one, no, you know. That's right. No, you have it. No, you know. So it's very and it works out very even as well. I think if you listen through, it's pretty much as far as that the solos thing go, it pretty much evens out through the album. I think maybe that particular song Rainmaker, I like the stuff on there because you know, there's like the intro kind of riffs, and also I'm sort of putting little kind of Eric Clapton almost sort of bluesy licks in between, which you know, which I like because we don't normally do that sort of stuff, and so adding that, throwing that in, you know, in bits of the song, I think I sort of enjoyed that because it's very rare I get a chance to do that because normally it's like bang 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 bang, you know. So I like that, and I think in general really I think we're all you know was really able to express ourselves, you know. I was really able to express myself in all aspects, and some real heavy stuff, real moody, quiet, melodic stuff, and I think that's the thing, the whole band was able to express themselves, and that's what I think this particular it's a good album. But I say the guitars as well, if you listen to on the album, it seems they've been really pushed out front this time. They're really up in the mix, which is nice, you know. So yeah. Everyone had some stuff over actually. I had a few more things that never made it, and I think and everyone did really. And I think it's a case where we've got this amount of songs that stop here. Otherwise, we'll end up with too many songs. And we had a specific time to record the album in, so I mean we've been overlapping that and putting ourselves well off schedule. So you thought that's just do these. That's about 60 an hour, whatever, 60, 70 minutes, and then that's yeah, but we definitely have some stuff for the future, you know. It was great. I think I really enjoyed playing Donington this year. I think it was great, and the crowd were tremendous. You know, I think every time these events are so like huge on you know on the Maiden Richter scale, really, especially in your own country. You know, I know in you know in the earlier festivals, in earlier Doningtons we played, there's probably more people there and stuff, and because of the time of the year as well, you go on in the dark, you know, so it's all a bit going on in light times, tend to take a bit of the atmosphere away, but I think generally the crowd had a wonderful time. So I think each one you have to stands up in its own unique individual night, you know. I think the like Steve will probably oversee a lot of the things. He'll get sent some of the stuff. I mean, actually, we did all see the mock-up. It's like it's one Spinal Tap size mock-up of the show, and it looks absolutely incredible. You know, so basically, that was it. When we saw it, we thought that's it. You don't have to do anything. You know, it looks absolutely tremendous. But I think as far as some of the backdrops stuff goes, you know, like I think Steve tends to look more at the details, I think, than the rest of us. And he always has done. I mean, Steve pretty much tends to, you know, oversee everything from the recording process. You know, he'll mixing to the editing on DVD, and so a lot of things go to him, and he basically makes a decision that goes back to the office. And it's probably a good way, because, you know, he's very much in a good quality control. He knows what he wants, and he's very focused in that area, and I think he probably comes up with a few ideas, you know, and stuff, and tosses them in. But and I know Rod as well. Rod's really in up front and working with the details of that as well. So it's a bit of everything from Rod to Steve and a little bit of the rest of the band, you know. Pretty much actually where we've just been on with the Give Me Head tour, actually. Well, we've revisited the scene of the crime. I mean, we've been on this tour, been doing lots of festivals and stuff, but we're actually going back to, this is how we normally would tour with Dancers There. So we'd be hitting some major cities all over Europe. And but we've been going back to a lot of places we've been to already on this tour, you know, back to like places like Finland and stuff, back to Poland. I mean, there's a lot of, you know, these towns. So, but obviously going back this with focusing on new album, new production, new lights, and that's the thing. It's going to be complete different feel, complete different atmosphere, complete different set. And so this tour, really, the first tour, is just to have fun, do some festivals, beautiful summer. Let's have, you know, it was great. Then in winter, it gets a bit more, you know, those dark nights. It's going to get a bit more moody and mysterious. So, and I think, and so we're going back to America. We're going down to South America, Japan. So this will be on when we start off. We go right through to next March, and this will take us, you know, pretty much everywhere. Be a world tour.
Writing's a weird thing, because you kind of have ideas all the time, and you're always putting melodies and ideas for riffs and stuff down all the time. I mean, things just come out. So you tend to do that when you're on tour. You might have an idea, or there's certain periods when you kind of more the writing comes easier, and sometimes you just have these weeks of just, there's so many ideas, and I just collect them. And then when you come to do an album, you just kind of go back through all your past ideas that you've collected, and one or two will stick out, and you just start putting ideas together and join them up, and you get an idea of where a song's going from that. So there isn't really a moment when you start to write. Sometimes you go back 10 years and you listen to an old tape and you think, wow, that sounds really good, and I didn't use that. And I'm sure everybody does it. You have thousands of tapes, hours of ideas, and you want to use a very tiny proportion. There was something I put together quite a while ago, and I played it to Steve, and he liked it a lot, and he came in with some melody ideas for it, for the different vocal melodies and stuff. And then he came in with a couple of thematic melodies which run through it as well. And so it was just putting different ideas together. It was basically the same as it is now, with a few little bits and pieces added. And the idea originally was a movie I saw years ago, The Seventh Seal, Ingmar Bergman movie. It's a really old, famous movie. I think it was done about 57 or something like that, black and white. And it's what struck me. There was a knight in there who was looking for some something in the world that would be worth surviving for, and death comes for him, and he wants to survive long enough to find some faith and some humanity in this world of plague and wars that he lives in, and he begs death to let him live long enough to find this faith and hope. And death plays chess with him, and it's kind of an allegorical tale, and I found it a fascinating tale. And at the end, death comes for him, and he takes him away, him and this little troop that he's with. And the end of the movie, which I'm told was something that they just stuck in at the very end, and all the actors had gone home, and it was something that Ingmar Bergman just had an idea for. And at the end of the movie, they do the dance of death into the distance, and you see them dancing over the mountains. And it just struck a chord with me. For a long time I've thought about doing something about that. And so I took that idea into Steve, and he took it on a completely different tangent. He went somewhere else with it and expanded it and came up with some amazing words. And it's quite an epic song, and it's thematic in content. And I think there's very few bands can do those kind of songs anymore, or allow themselves to do it. And we perhaps have a little bit of freedom. I think with that song and with Passchendaele, that there's not too many bands who can do songs like that. I like Steve's lyrics because they're kind of simplified. He doesn't go in for big words and huge rhyme and couplets, but he gets across his point of view in a very solid way. And sometimes he can move you, he can make you shiver with some of his lines, which is great. Yeah, I mean, I read the lyrics and just thought, yeah. It was something I took to Steve that was basically musically finished, and he came in with these incredible melodies. There's kind of a counterpoint to the melodies I had in there, and made it very interesting. And then Bruce came in with some great lyrics about the Templars and this monastery called Montsegur, where the last of the Templars hung out and did these weird things that they do. And it's just he came in with these great lyrics, and we just kind of went through it, and we sat in my house at one point and went through it with him and put most of the ideas together, and it just came out trumps. I'm really proud of it. Iron Maiden is a kind of a boys' own band. It means we can write about anything, and Be Quick or Be Dead was kind of about the Robert Maxwell saga, and you've got Alexander the Great, the Trooper, which are kind of historical things. And I think it's really healthy because we can write about anything. Well, we're not stuck in that kind of compartment where there have to be love songs, or there has to be a ballad, or there has to be this, has to be that. Literally, we can write about anything, and we write about things that interest us. I think history is always an interesting thing. Sometimes we write about politics, but in a very careful way. Afraid to Shoot Strangers is about war, or the aftermath is about war from the point of view of the guys who had to fight it, not the politicians who send you there. Steve, if you look at or listen to Alexander the Great and stuff like that, I'm sure that he goes in there and has a look. And I know for a fact Bruce has A-levels in history, so he's very aware of historical stuff. So yeah, we wouldn't just write willy-nilly about anything that we didn't know about. But I think writing in general, you get a feeling. You might read a book or see a movie. Man on the Edge was kind of about that movie falling down. It was that whole idea of just being squashed in this urban nightmare. So you get feelings from that and you write about it. But because I'm not involved that much in the lyrics, it's merely Steve and Bruce. And Nick at the moment, actually. The reason we took the time off is because we were kind of out playing tours back to back for nearly 2.5 years. When we worked it out, we did the Ed Hunter tour. We rehearsed before that. We went out, did the Ed Hunter tour. We came back. We did the album in France. We went out. We did the first part of the tour, and then that lasted a year. And then we had a couple of weeks off, and then we went out to do the South American leg, which finished with Rio. And when we counted back, it was nearly 2.5 years, which is a long time. You come back and everybody's changed, bar you, because you've been in this bubble on tour. And we needed a break. We needed a little recharge of our batteries, which is what we did. But I didn't want to come back and drop dead on stage at the first gig, so I would keep fit by running and going to the gym and just keeping physically fit enough to do the job. I know it's a demanding job to do, and you've got to keep yourself pretty much together to do it. So the playing is something that just happens naturally, and the fitness I have to work at. Without doubt, the stage is the best because you just go up there and I always personally just enjoy it for what it is. You know, you get up there, the lights might be crap, or the PA might not work that night, or your gear might be buzzing and feeding back, and everybody's moaning about it. But at the end of the day, you just go up and you do the best you can with what you've got. And I learned that from Ian Gillan years ago at a gig in Yugoslavia, and I had to look at the PA and it was a bit Mickey Mouse. And I said, what are we going to do? This PA is terrible. And he went, we'll do the best with what we got. And I thought, yeah, that's a great attitude. And that's what you got to do. You go out and you do the best with what you got. And I love playing live because it's different every night. It's different people every night. I never know what I'm going to do. The one thing about me and my playing is it's pretty unpredictable. And to me, rock and roll it kind of got a bit too predictable. And maybe that little bit of unpredictability gives it a bit more excitement. And nobody can know what I'm going to do because I don't know what I'm going to do. I know more or less the melodies I want to play, but there's other things within those melodies that I can play with. And so, yeah, the live thing's great. Now, having said that, the studio, you can be quite creative and you can go in there and create things. But it's all got a little bit computerized for me. And it's lost the feeling that I used to have going in the studio is not quite the same anymore, which is why we do it in that kind of live way. So we go in and we've got the drums and Steve in one room and the guitars in another room and Bruce in another room. We're all looking at each other. We've got eye contact. And I think one of the best things about Iron Maiden is our live show. And if we can collect that, which I think Martin Birch did very, very well, collecting the energy and the power of the band and putting it onto vinyl. And now we're in the digital age and Kevin Shirley's come along and he's trying to capture what we do and keep it up to date sonically with all the digital stuff and the Pro Tools and whatever, but you need the basis of that live feel to capture that. If you can capture that, then that's what this band's about. So I enjoy that too, but the live thing is what I live for. I think without the live gigs, I don't think this band could really exist. It's strange, there's people say, will you be fighting Eddie? But I never fight Eddie. What happens is whoever's involved in the Eddie thing comes over and starts punching me. So anyone hits me, I'm going to hit them back. But there's never. It feels like it's choreographed, but it never is. I swear to God, I never think, oh, Eddie's going to come over, I'm going to have a battle with him. It's never been like that. Although I'm sure other people think we send him over to Jan and he'll have a fight. But if someone comes over and thumps me, I'm going to thump him back, like anybody with a right mind would do. So this huge 12-foot monster comes over and twats me on the head. I'm not going to let that go. So then I get involved with it. But it's never planned. I never know what I'm going to do. I think on the last tour, he had quite wide legs. So I'd run through his legs and he'd be swiping at me. And I'd kick him from behind and then run through his legs. But it's all part of the fun. But I never, ever worked it out. I would just do whatever comes. If he didn't come over, it wouldn't bother me. In fact, on this tour, he hasn't been coming over that much. He just comes over, pats me on the head, I take a swipe at him and he runs away, which is fine by me. So I'm sure people must think, oh, this is all choreographed and it's a bit pantomime. But it's never, ever been choreographed, any of it. And that, to me, is the most important thing because there's nothing I hate more than something that's choreographed.